Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions Deep Dive TV Podcast with my co-host Stacie here to talk about Under the Dome, Season 1, Episode 12, titled Exigent Circumstances. The episode's description reads as follows. Big Jim rallies the town against Barbie after framing him for murders and the shooting of Julia. Joe and Nori moved the mini-dome to Ben's house, but it soon begins to act strangely. The episode was written by Caitlin Parrish and Adam Stein. Caitlin wrote 5 episodes of the show, and Stein wrote 8. Based on the book by Stephen King, the episode was directed by Peter Lato. First of 5 episodes for him. Before going further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend go check it out. And then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow. And feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Core Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to our channel. All right, Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode.
All right, before I get into the episode, I want to say one more time, happy birthday to Brian Green.
Yes, happy birthday.
Which is actually
birthday.
today,
yes.
Tuesday, April 15th. I don't think he actually listens to this one, but I figured
I'm sure he doesn't.
This is the actual day itself, I'd say it again.
Yep.
Okay, so this episode, we're a penultimate episode of Season 1. I know you every week you say next week is worse, right?
Well, I'm not going to say that. So
are we finally there? Are we finally where you're like, this is where I hate everything?
No, the previous episode was the one that I've never liked.
Okay.
Even back when I first watched it originally, I never liked it. Taken in a vacuum, this episode is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't feel like I hate the episode.
When I watched it originally, I remember being highly involved in the last 2 episodes. I was, I was in. Taking not taking anything into account where the series actually goes, this episode is fine. It seems like this is going good places. The problem is, I know that it's not going good places. So it's kind of hard not to hold all the stuff that actually happens after it against this episode.
Yeah.
It's under that weight. It's hard to separate that out when it comes down to it.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
But like, I want to care about the egg right now.
Yeah.
But I don't.
I mean, like, we have Jim basically heading towards becoming a complete tyrant. Okay,
so if there was any doubt before that Jim is the villain of this town, it's clear at this point.
Right.
That he is 100% the big bad.
Yeah.
At this moment.
At this moment. But when we get to Season 2, they walk it back. They shouldn't have. They should have just kept going with Jim being a tyrant. Barbie, being some kind of resistance. Junior being a villain of some type, or at least an antagonist. Being at cross purposes with everyone.
Yeah.
But they don't do it that way. They basically walk Jim being back this evil person. They turn Junior into a good guy. Nobody's motivations in Season 2 make sense whatsoever, if I recall correctly. And then at the end of Season 2...
In Season 2, we're too busy dealing with new characters who just randomly show up.
Yeah.
They should have been here for all this stuff.
And then at the end of the Season 2, we turn Jim into a bad guy again, having him shoot innocent people that don't even need to die. And then they walk it back again to him being, like, the good guy of the piece. And basically they don't totally forgive Jim for what he actually does at the end of the Season 2. But, after these 2 episodes, Barbie and Jim should never work together again. But they do, several times throughout the rest of the series. So, that's the series. That's the problem with the series as a whole. My problem with this episode, the ones that I do have, is once again we have characters jumping to conclusions that make no sense.
I definitely picked up a few of those in this episode.
Yeah, and I guess that's where my problems stem from. And I think what it comes down to is something that we've talked about before: is they're trying to do too much. So they're taking narrative shortcuts to get there because they don't have a whole lot of time to actually tell the story that they're now trying to tell.
Right.
In these final 2 episodes. That's my take on it. I don't even think I think I jumped a beat and we forgot to actually talk about your opinion of this episode.
Well, I kind of just danced around it.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like I don't have opinions on these episodes because, like you said, it's so hard to talk about them in isolation.
Right. I will say that when I watched it the first time, I was really into it. When I watched it the second time, I was really into it. When I start watching it to do a podcast on it, I see a lot more cracks and problems with these episodes.
Sure, because we look at stuff way too hard.
Right.
I think overall it's a fine episode. I like the stuff with Angie and Barbie in this episode.
Yes.
I like the stuff with Angie and Junior, like the manipulative stuff. I like that whole scene. I think plays out really nicely. The whole let's move Julia around town in an ambulance stuff's kind of weird for me, but it's whatever. Yeah. I feel bad for Dodie. Mm-hmm. She got the short end of the stick here.
Yeah. And there is still more of the Winda kind of sucks things going on in this episode and then in the next, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I found myself while I was watching this trying to see if I can still defend her.
Yeah.
It's so hard because she doesn't know anything that's going on. She has no idea what a loser Jim is.
Yes.
That's the problem, is she trusts him.
She idolizes him despite the fact that she knows that he's a piece of pile of steaming crap. She knows that he's basically a drug dealer.
The problem is Linda has no support.
Yeah.
She has nobody. She used to have Barbie. Mm-hmm. And now, of course, she doesn't have Barbie to deal with the Barbie situation.
Right, yeah.
So she's completely alone. She doesn't even have any deputies anymore. She's got Junior, who is not there for her, ever.
Yeah, does he ever do his job? I think he continues to wear that outfit for the remainder of the series. And after a certain point, I don't even think he's bothering to do his job ever again.
I don't even remember,
Right.
Do we have police in season 2? Do we pretend to have police in season 2?
Phil is basically the sheriff in season 2.
So weird.
Which does not make any sense whatsoever. But when we get there, I'll definitely talk about that. All right, anything else to say before diving in? We do have Aisha Hines coming back as Caroline.
Yes, she makes an appearance again in this episode, which is great to see her back. What other cast notes do we have?
She actually makes 16 appearances throughout the series. She's not a regular, but I think we see her right up until the final season.
Yeah, she's around.
Yeah.
I'd already mentioned Dodie meets her end this episode. It's not her final appearance, though. We see her again
in season 2.
201. The actress makes an appearance. We see Ben again this episode. He's been a while. The last episode that John Elvis was in was episode 7. So this is his return after many episodes of being gone. I like that character.
Yeah.
I think he's a fun character.
Yes.
That I wish they kind of spent a little more time with.
Right, absolutely.
Of course, Phil returns in this episode. This is our final appearance for Nurse Adams. Crystal Martinez, this is the last time we're going to see her. For no reason, she just disappears. I think the clinic disappears, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think we're in the hospital.
I feel like the clinic doesn't exist after season 1. And that's one of the things I know I talked about a lot the first time we were covering this season.
Yeah.
And I wanted to keep track of the locations. And then we never got to season 2, so I never really followed up on that. But just based on my memory, season 1, we've got the Sweetbriar, the clinic, and, their houses. Right? Season 2, we never see the Sweetbriar again. It doesn't exist.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we don't ever go back to the clinic.
Right.
And if we do, it's not a focus.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly the school exists, and it's our main location in season 2. And then in season 3, we never see the school again. And all of our time spent in Town Hall, but I'm pretty sure it's a very different looking Town Hall than the one we have in season 1.
Right.
So it's the main locations are completely different and don't make sense. The switches don't make sense.
Right.
And I'll definitely talk about this, when we do season 2, but
which we're finally going to end up doing really soon.
But the school, that's just the hardest thing for me, is we're told in season 2 when it becomes the main plot point is that the center of town is the school.
Right.
The school's right in the middle of the dome.
Yes.
But yeah, where'd we find the mini egg?
In the middle of a field somewhere.
In the middle of a field, or just off of the field in the woods, which we were told was the center of the dome, and that's where the mini egg was.
Right.
So, things like that just really make it so hard for me to...
Right. Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, exactly. That. Like, the story can suck, and it's okay if I can believe that that it flows in some manner.
Right.
But I feel like they just go out of their way to not have continuity in this series.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm not sure where all that came from, but yeah, okay.
All right, ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, the episode begins with the egg glowing pink. We see Julia laying in her hospital bed unconscious. Barbie is at night evading the people looking for him. And Big Jim is giving a speech with Linda at his side, telling the townspeople about the search for Barbie. Basically, he says he will be caught and punished and put to death. He doesn't exactly say that, but he might as well. A townie, Miles, speaks up and says, "Hey, why aren't you searching our houses? Like, you gotta do something." And, basically, Jim makes an impassioned call for, obeying the Constitution. This is still the United States, which I'm sure he doesn't believe at all.
Because he already, in an episode or two ago, like, the whole gun thing.
Yes,
he was like, that doesn't matter anymore.
Right. And he's basically like, "Oh, but you gotta do something, And he asks, "Oh, well, what would you have me do, Miles?" I'm pretty sure that Miles is a plant. Someone that Jim has specifically put there to say these things.
I guess that's possible.
And if so, I respect the strategy. But basically, Jim says, "Okay, I'm declaring a state of emergency, martial law, basically, and we're gonna do house sweeps."
Yeah, and Linda's like, "No, we're not."
Right. I'm not gonna turn this town into a house state on your say so. She raises this objection, but then just goes back to standing.
But Jim's like, "It's not me. It's the people.
Right.
It's what they want."
Right. It's playing all innocent. That's why I think he specifically put Miles there on purpose.
I mean, he definitely his goal all along was to do house searches, but he didn't want to be the one to suggest it. So you're right. Maybe he's a plant, or he just knew that some people were gonna, go that way.
Yes.
Miles.
No, go ahead.
Miles Alcott's played by Jason Davis.
Yeah.
We see him again later in the episode. He picks up trash later in the episode.
Okay, gotcha.
He was in 3 episodes of The Walking Dead, 6 episodes of Secrets and Lies, 2 episodes of Resurrection.
Caroline, by the way, is making her grand return to the show.
Yeah,
when she's objecting.
She's at this meeting, and she's not liking anything she's hearing.
Right, and she ends up, leaving.
She leaves early. She darts out of there quickly before anyone else to go check in with the kids.
Mm-hmm. Linda said... Oh, yeah, no, we already said that. So he tells them that they will have jobs, and Chester Mill will survive, the town will survive, and the town collapse, except for Caroline, who, of course, ends up leaving.
Yeah. So this is where he's like, well, a lot of you lost your jobs, including, Mr. Alcott, Miles, which is funny because he's credited as Mr. Alcott. They call him Miles in this scene. A scene later, they call him Mr. Alcott.
Gotcha.
And it took me looking this up on, a third-party website, trying to figure out who these characters are, that was the same person.
Yeah.
Miles Alcott.
Yeah, I tried to actually look at the credits, and I'm like, no.
You knew I'd get it.
Yes.
So he's a banker. We already saw the bank is in disarray, right?
Right.
So he's one of these people that Jim's talking about that have lost their jobs. So that's why what Jim is saying is we'll have jobs for everybody, but it's not things you want to do, but we need help around town. So that's what sets up later that he's picking up trash.
Right.
But Jim is basically like, we have things for everybody to do. You all are going to be useful. And so he's assigning duty tasks, basically, in the middle of all this.
So Dodie, meanwhile, is continuing to listen to the radio. The military is still looking for Barbie, and they mentioned the egg, which brings up a memory, and she looks at her phone and realizes that she has a picture of the egg on her phone. Okay, so what good is zapping her and erasing her memories if it's just going to still be on her phone?
Well, how powerful do you think the egg entities are?
I don't know.
That they could erase their phone?
Maybe.
I mean, I guess it could have fried the phone, so
it could have done that.
Maybe that's what it was trying to do.
Maybe. All right, so Angie, meanwhile, is talking about killing Big Jim, who she thinks is hunting down the monarch, who Joe thinks is Barbie. Nori suggests it could be one of them, but Joe says it's absolutely Barbie. This conversation is interrupted by Caroline seeing the egg for the first time. The kids explain the situation, and Caroline chooses to help them.
Yeah, she tells them they're going to come search the houses, and they're like, we got to hide this thing because I don't trust Big Jim. We cannot let him know this exists.
Right. Angie suggests Ben's, and meanwhile, she's going to go off and because she has business with Big Jim. So she's going to go off and kill Big Jim herself. Is that her plan?
I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know what she was referring to.
Right.
Because that doesn't happen. She doesn't go and confront Big Jim.
No.
So I'm not sure what she was going to do.
Linda, meanwhile, is organizing the volunteers, telling them not to treat their neighbors with disrespect and not to kill Barbie. Bill ends up tagging along with Linda because they've developed quite a rapport. Junior finds his dad and tells him that he's in danger, that somebody is trying to kill him. His dad tells him that Barbie shot Julia, and he's like, oh, that bastard.
I found this really clunky that Junior comes and says, someone's going to try and kill you. It might be Barbie, it might be someone else. Now, that's before Jim says Barbie shot Julia.
Right.
Why would Junior say it might be Barbie or it might be someone else?
When he knows for sure who's going to kill them.
He knows it's the kids.
Right.
Why are you trying to implement Barbie in something? Like, Barbie hadn't even been mentioned yet.
Right.
Jim mentions Barbie next.
Right.
But, like, it felt really clunky to me. Like, why are you saying that? That's a weird thing to say. If you want to protect your dad, tell him the friggin' truth.
Right. Yeah. So he wants, his dad wants him to guard Julia, tells him that if she wakes up, only to tell Jim and no one else. Junior agrees and tells his dad to be careful.
Yeah, and this was another thing. If you weren't suspicious of Big Jim, this should have made you suspicious. Him telling Junior, you're the only one I trust with this very important task of watching her.
Well,
he should know that his dad doesn't trust him to, lock the house up, lock the house door.
Right.
Every single time, Junior's like, I want to be helpful. Let me do something. And his dad's like, go drink your milk. Every single time.
Yeah.
So when Jim's saying to Junior, I need somebody on my side, somebody I can trust. It's a very important task, and I want you to do it. You're the only person that can handle this important job. Come on.
All right. So I'm going to defend this a little bit and say that Junior is not terribly bright.
Sure.
Though I will also say that later in this episode, Junior does start to get suspicious.
Yeah, he does eventually, but it takes an awful lot for him to get there.
Right, yeah. I mean, this is his dad. He wants to trust him.
He wants to be wanted by his dad.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I get it that this is what he wants. He wants to be helpful. He wants his dad to see him as a cop, Right. But it's...
As a big boy now.
So against the way Jim has always treated Junior.
Right, that he should be more suspicious.
Yeah,
kind of like Marty's kids are in the Tale of Two Swedes that we just covered, the Quantum Leap episode. Like, they're all really suspicious of their father.
Right.
They think of him as a giant piece of crap. Junior should kind of be in that same boat.
Right.
Okay, so Dodie tells him about the...
Yeah, Dodie comes and...
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Dodie.
Yeah. Yeah, she tells him about the military searching for Barbie and says that there's something else that he wants to show him.
She wants to show him.
Yes. Barbie grabs Angie and basically when she's coming out of the barn and, basically grabs her by grabbing her mouth and tells her not to scream.
Yeah, it was a weird way to, approach somebody to try and get them to trust you.
And tells her everything said about him is not true. Not everything, because he did actually kill Peter Shumway.
He did actually kill Peter Shumway. Right. Let's not forget that.
Right.
But...
She agrees because she doesn't trust Big Jim.
Yeah, he has no idea that Angie would believe him.
Right.
It's very, very coincidental that the person he thinks to go to is the person who... the one person who really, is never going to believe a word Jim says.
It's funny because I think that the one that makes more sense for Barbie to approach would be Joe. Because Joe has made it very clear that he completely idolizes Barbie.
The reason he went to Angie is because he has a plan that involves Angie's access to the hospital.
Okay. So he enlists her help in saving Julia. Junior...
And this is where we have our credits, by the way.
Right, yes.
Very far in.
Yes. A lot of stuff happens before the credits. Junior, meanwhile, is asking the nurse about Julia, but she seems really annoyed by the questions. Like, why are you asking me about this woman?
Yeah, she's like, I'm not... He was asking if she's going to come out of a coma, and Nurse Adams is like, I'm not a doctor, remember?
A doctor wouldn't even be able to answer that question.
Sure. And she's just like, I got another patient to check on, and she's like, peace out. And that's the last we're going to see Nurse Adams. Our last nurse, she's done. She must have just went and retired because we never hear from her again.
Right. So Angie asks Barbie about his plan, and she does a lot of poo-pooing of his plan, saying, this could go wrong, this could go wrong.
Yeah, so basically, he's going to hotwire the ambulance. They're outside the hospital. He's going to hotwire the ambulance. They're going to use Angie's key card that she has because she's a candy striper to go in the back door of the hospital, even though it's being guarded. They're going to wait for the guards to turn their back, sneak into the back door, sneak Julia, who's unconscious, out of the hospital into the ambulance, and escape with her. And yeah, there's a lot that could go wrong there. This is a weird plan. Why are you not just trying to get in there to make sure nobody kills her?
Right.
Like, wouldn't it be easier just to send Angie in and be like, okay, make sure Jim doesn't kill her? Just hang out here and, like, keep an eye on her?
I mean, like, is Angie really going to be able to stop Big Jim from killing somebody?
I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
Especially since, like, you know, Jim acts like he owes her something.
Right. So he asks her, are you in or are you out? And she answers by taking a drag of one of his cigarettes.
Yeah, they share a cigarette, which is something they did in the very first episode. Mm-hmm. And I didn't originally put that in my notes, but then I remembered how important that is later in the episode. So I went back and added that fact, because this comes back.
Yes. Dodie brings Jim to the station, shows him the
radio
station, shows him the egg on her phone, and then goes to keep the music going per her promise to Phil. She overhears the radio, which talks of looking for Barbie, and then overhears them talking about Jim himself. The soldier reveals that Jim killed Coggins, which is why that he's not recommending him as a point of contact for the military. And unfortunately for Dodie, Dodie overhears this conversation.
And Jim knows that she heard it.
Yes.
He goes crazy and, like, rips up the equipment, right? He's trying to turn it off.
Yep.
And he, like, just starts ripping everything apart. But it's too late. She's already heard it.
Right.
There were two voices on the radio. We had, man number one was a soldier. Man number two was Colonel Cox, which is uncredited. I don't know who voiced these characters. They didn't tell us that. But I wanted to bring up the fact that Colonel Cox is actually a predominant character in the novels.
Okay.
He is a good friend with Barbie's from the military, and he's Barbie's point of contact throughout the novel.
Gotcha.
They're communicating back and forth because there wasn't communication breakdowns like there are in the series.
Yes.
They were able to, like, call each other and shit in the book. And Barbie was on a mission for him, like, throughout the novel, which is kind of mirroring what they're alluding to here. But, you know, this Barbie's too busy to, you know, get involved.
Yes.
And I don't think we get back to that, really.
No, I don't think we... Well...
I mean, we learn what it was, but we never, like, follow up with, okay, now that you're not dead, let's do the mission.
Right. Yeah, but he does end up on the outside of the dome and, like, does have some dealings with the military.
Yeah, but I don't think it's Colonel Cox.
No?
I think this is the only time we mention him.
Okay.
And it was I think this was just like a little Easter egg to the book, because he was, again, a predominant character in the book.
Okay, so Ben is by his house. There's some people there.
This is Miles Alcott collecting the trash.
Okay. And Joe calls for his attention. Joe asks if he can hide the egg there, which is possible because the Gestapo hit his house a bit ago. And, you know, that's a whole Nazi reference that I think is a little overhanded, or not. I'm not quite sure what the word I'm looking for.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I think it's a little heavy-handed, you know, referring to all this as, you know, Gestapo tactics. It's veering close to it, but it's not like they were putting people in ovens or, you know, like outright murdering people or concentration camps.
And you know what? I think that's something we could talk about later is, are they doing the right thing going door to door, right?
Yeah.
But I think I'll save that for the end.
Okay.
But, okay, this is one of those cases where this is a great place to go because they already cleared Ben's house.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, people coming to conclusions. This is one of them. Why was Angie like, Ben's house would be a great place to bring the egg?
The only reason that I can think of that Angie might propose that is because she knows Ben. Ben has protected her in the past.
But why was Ben's house better than their house where it already existed?
I'm not sure.
I mean, it works out that way just because of timing, but nobody knew that. Nobody knew they were going to go to Ben's house before they went to Joe's house.
Right. No, absolutely. So, yeah, you're right. That is a moment of them jumping to conclusions and, proposing a plan that they have absolutely no way of actually knowing whether that's going to work out.
Like, it worked out, but what if they get there right when they're there?
Right.
Or they haven't been there yet, so this isn't a safe place.
Right. He says his stash house is their stash house. What does he mean by that? Is there drugs there?
I think he just meant, like, I'll help however you need me to help. And it's funny because they're bringing Ben in now.
Right.
They didn't trust him enough to bring him in like
earlier
before to tell him any of this.
Right.
They really don't treat him like a very good friend.
No.
throughout any of this.
So Barbie and Angie sneak into the hospital. They see Junior guarding the room. Okay, what's Barbie's intention here?
He pulls out a gun.
Because he says, I think I can take Junior out before he calls for the radio. Is Barbie intending to kill Junior?
It sounded like that.
Because now he's actually going to be guilty of an actual crime. I mean, maybe if he wants to go in there and, like, hit him in the head with a gun or something like that. But it really looks like he's intending...
So I know he's desperate to save Julia.
Yeah.
He really believes her life is in danger.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yes.
Because if she wakes up...
Yeah.
She's going to die. And Barbie knows this. He knows that if she wakes up and can talk and blow the whole story that Jim has presented, she's dead. So he's right. That's what's happening.
Yes.
But yeah, is he going to go to the extremes of killing Junior to circumvent that?
Right.
When it's not even a thing yet? They don't even know if she's going to wake up?
Right. But unfortunately, we don't get an answer to that question because Angie has a different idea.
Angie has an idea. She's kind of smart.
Yes.
She's like, you don't need to pull a gun on him.
Right. She's going to use her feminine wiles on him.
So she goes to get a candy striper uniform and she pretends like she's working.
Right.
Which she could have done the whole time, like I said, and just left Julia here.
Right.
And just been here.
Right. So Jim is trying to calm down Dodie. Jim explains what he did to Coggins. He basically says that everybody he's killed, he's had to kill. They had what was coming to them. Trying to tell her that he's not such a bad guy.
Yeah, this whole conversation was like, wow. Super creepy sounding.
Yes. It's a great scene between the two of them.
And by the way, he's telling her to be calm. She was very calm.
Yes.
She did a great job of staying calm.
Yeah.
If Jim wasn't as crazy as Jim is, I could see her talking her way out of this.
Yeah.
She was very calm, and she was like, yeah, I'm on your side. Whatever you need.
Yeah, I could be useful to you. It seems Dodie has come around to his side of his thinking. At least she has convinced him that he has, or I think she's convinced me that he's going to go along with whatever he's going to do. And she talks about the dome coming down and that she can be very useful.
The problem is he doesn't want the dome to come down.
And he points
because he knows that the military knows that he killed somebody.
Right. And plus, he likes being a tyrant. He wants to be in control of his little king of the hill of this dome area.
I think he would have been happy, though, for the dome to come down. If he could be the one to be like, I made the dome come down, I'm the hero.
Right. Until
he found out that they have eyes on him and they realize he's a murderer. Right. So that's not going to go good for him.
So he points a gun at her, and he says, the dome can't come down. And Dodie's like, Big Jim? And he's like, what do you want, sweetie? And he's like, you're a sick bastard, and one day everyone's gonna know it, and they're gonna smile when you die. And Jim shoots her, not in the head though. He shoots her in the shoulder,
in the chest.
I guess that was enough to kill her.
And she had a single tear rolling down her cheek. It was a good scene.
So I'm gonna point out, and I didn't realize this until watching this episode and looking at Jolene Purdy's credits again.
Okay.
So Dean Norris and Jolene Purdy actually shared a scene together in Breaking Bad, which had Hank, the character that he was playing, threatening her character at a gas station. It didn't end up with the two, him shooting her in the head. She lives through that, but it was interesting that they had a similar scene in Breaking Bad. So I thought that was interesting. But anyway, so that's the end of Joey and Purdy, at least as a active character in the show.
That's
a wrap on her.
Dodie is dead.
Yeah.
But again, we're gonna see the actress one more time. In
She's basically like a hallucination.
Somebody sees her.
Yeah.
But she has one more appearance on the show.
So Jim calls Linda about the radio station being on fire because he's basically...
Well, you skipped that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he, after he kills her,
yeah, he
first destroys all of the equipment.
Yeah.
I think he's thinking as he goes. I don't think he thought ahead. So he destroys all the equipment, like, trashes it, so nobody else could hear anything. And I think maybe that's where he was going to stop, because otherwise, why would you have bothered trashing it?
Right.
But then he's like, oh, let me set this place on fire. Which is really funny, because 2 minutes ago, he just said the reason Coggins had to die is because he set a fire.
Right, yep.
And he's like, let me set a fire.
Yes. And yeah, basically, he calls Linda, says the radio station is on fire. Bill asks about Dodie. Jim claims to have no clue. And Bill jumps to another conclusion that it was Barbie that set the fire. Basically, he's saying that the radio station has been, giving plenty of information about Barbie, and that's why Barbie had to come back here and set the place on fire. I don't think that that's worth the risk, but whatever. And again, this is a conclusion he's jumping to where he's wrong.
Right.
So...
because we know Phil just doesn't think very highly of Barbie.
No. So Joe and Nori give babysitting instructions
to Ben.
To Ben. I was like, wait, what? I didn't.
Ben's babysitting the egg.
Yeah.
The mini dome.
Right. Before leaving.
Tell him not to touch it and keep everyone away from it, basically.
Joe wants to stop Angie from killing Jim. He's basically saying preventing her from doing something stupid. Angie, meanwhile, is acting as a distraction to Junior while trying to turn him to the side of this. To their side at the same time, basically disparaging Jim.
Yeah, she asks him if he can trust his dad.
Right.
She's trying to get him to actually
think about things.
Come on their side. Actually realize your dad is trying to kill this woman. Why are you helping him?
Right.
But that's not working. So she has to rely on,
just pure feminine wiles.
Yeah, and it's funny because you can hear in her voice, she's using this manipulative voice. She's done it with Junior before. You could totally tell just by her voice that she's pretending with him. But he doesn't.
No, because he's dumb. He's young and dumb.
He's dumb, and she's paying attention to me again. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if Britt Robinson came on to me, this would also work on me, even now, and even 20 years later. But anyway.
But would it, after you know that she's literally told you, I never want to see you again, I hope you die?
I mean, I would like to think I would have some more self-awareness of myself, that if someone came up to me after saying those things to me, that I would be a little bit more suspicious of her. But yeah. Anyway.
So basically what she does is she pretends she has a fake little breakdown, and she's like, I'm so stressed and I can't handle this and I need someone to talk to. I need you to talk to. You're the only person that understands how I feel.
Right.
Can we please go somewhere alone and talk? They're pretty alone here.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, he just loses it when she holds his hand, and he's like, okay, anything for you, Angie. Whatever you need. I'll forget about my secret assignment my dad gave me to watch this woman and make sure, she doesn't talk.
So they end up leaving the room. Barbie comes in and gets Julia out. Linda and Phil are at the station. Phil is heartbroken. He basically knows that Dodie is dead at this point.
Yeah, so we had Fire Volunteer tell them that they found her body in the wreckage. Fire Volunteer is played by Jay Gates. This is the only episode we see him in. He was in one episode of A Haunting and 2 episodes of Homeland.
So they are both at this point assuming it's Barbie. Why? I mean...
Because he's the bad guy!
So killing Julia makes sense, that he might want to try to do that. Everybody else... What motive does he have to kill Agatha? Or, I mean, I guess he does have a motive for Maxine. But...
Well, he would have had honestly, he would have had the same motive to kill them as Jim has, if he was really the bad guy.
Right.
Right?
But
because Maxine was threatening both of them. I have an insurance policy.
Yes.
So, I mean, it could have been Barbie. But also, nobody knows any of that.
Right. So, Barbie is on the run. And it makes sense for him to come back to town to burn down the radio station and shoot Dodie in the head for no reason.
Well, they don't know she was shot. They think she died in the fire.
Okay, gotcha.
I think.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense.
Right, again.
Why are we even assuming that it was arson and not an accident?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, wasn't she just at the hospital the other day, and the story was that, like, the generator at the radio station electrocuted her?
Yes.
So it's very plausible that, you know, the basic consensus of the town would be, like, this place just burned down because it's faulty.
So they're Phil is a dumbass, and, you know, we've already seen that, but Linda jumping to the same conclusion. They're both jumping to the conclusion that Barbie is guilty when there's equally other things that could have been plausible.
Right.
They don't know for a fact that Barbie did this. They don't know anything.
Right.
And yet they're making this huge conclusion. But anyway, Angie continues seducing Junior, but then as they kiss, he realizes she tastes like cigarettes and makes the connection and realizes that Barbie is involved.
Yeah, he suddenly knows the entire plan and runs back to Julia.
My question is, so doesn't she smoke?
Right. The only time she can smoke is when Barbie gives her a cigarette, apparently.
Right. Yeah. So this is ridiculous that he's getting to this conclusion based off this.
It is. Also, I'm going to point out.
Yeah.
Before the kiss, he hugged her. He was smelling her hair.
Right.
He should have caught on before kissing her and tasting it.
Right.
He would have smelled the cigarette the minute they were alone in a room together.
Right.
I promise you that.
Yes.
So the fact that it took them actually kissing for him to be like, you taste like cigarettes is weird in and of itself. He would have known she was smoking.
Right.
As soon as
Mm-hmm.
they started talking, he'd have known that.
Yes.
And also, yeah, like, why is the only reason she's allowed to have a cigarette in her life is because Barbie handed it to her? Does he have the only pack of cigarettes under the dome?
Maybe. I mean, he did buy all those cartons.
He bought 2 packs.
Okay, never mind. So he goes for a run, realizes Julia's gone, and Angie realizes the gig is up. Caroline argues with Jim about not searching the barn using her lawyer skills. I have lawyer skills written here.
Yeah, she says he can't go in without a warrant.
Jim,
He's like, so this is where it comes up, the title, Exigent Circumstances. She says there's only 4 reasons you can search. One is if you have a warrant, or it was 4 with or without the warrant. Whatever it was. One was
probable cause.
One was with the owner's consent.
Yeah.
One was if there was something openly visible. And Jim points out the last reason is exigent circumstances.
Yeah. And did you
Which means this title actually like makes sense more than some of the other episode titles. It's actually tied into something happening in the episode.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just talk about it here. I said we'll talk about it at the end, but this is as good a place as any to talk about the searching, since this is where we're talking about searching, right?
Yeah.
So what Jim's saying is true. Exigent circumstances is a reason to do a search.
Okay.
Now the fact that we're literally searching everybody door to door, I don't know. What do you think about this situation?
Well, most of the people have volunteered for this.
Sure.
Caroline clearly has not.
She's refusing, even though it's not even her freaking property.
Right.
So does she have any stake to say no?
I mean, fair. That's a good point. But it is the place that she is currently considering her residence.
Yeah, but it's also like not even the house; it's the barn. It's really weird.
Isn't that part of? Wouldn't that be part of the property?
Of the property, but
yeah.
Okay, well. First of all, let me say the reason that Big Jim is here is because he heard the military dude say, this is the known location of the egg. They saw it go into this barn, so he's assuming it's in there.
Yeah.
Also, Caroline knows that they took it out. It's not there anymore. So why is she putting up such a stink anyways?
Maybe it's to throw Jim off the scent.
But okay, so I feel like given the circumstances, maybe they're really not out of line going door to door and searching.
Okay. That's
because I mean, we know Barbie's not a killer and we know Jim's lying, but if you didn't know those things, right?
Yeah.
If you're the average citizen of this town and you're being told he is a psychopath mass murderer and has killed like 5 people and we're all trapped in this 10-mile radius together, would that not be considered proper exigent circumstances to do a search? If that was Michael Myers on a killing spree, would we not be totally cool with them searching every inch of this dome looking for him?
Fair enough. And like we said, for the most part, most of the people are volunteering to have their home searched. In the case of Caroline, she is not volunteering for this. She is saying no. How would you handle that situation if she is saying no to a search? I mean, would she be harboring a Michael Myers in the barn? Like,
she could be.
Does she
the killer could have an accomplice? You don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's got to be somewhere.
So taking out everything else, like the fact that Jim is in fact lying, and we're actually on a legitimate search, does she have cause to say no?
I mean, that's the question.
Yes, that is a good question.
And I feel like it's one of those things that would be a whole trial after the fact.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
And also it comes down to the legality of the search. Would it mean anything you found in there was admissible, right? If this was an actual real world situation and there's going to be a court case and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously I don't know the law good enough to really have real thoughts on this.
Yeah.
But I do know this list of things that could make you search for something is true. And she even knows it because she's the one stating it. I guess the question is does this count as proper circumstances to make consent not necessary?
Well, maybe we should consult a lawyer and ask them.
I don't think we have one.
Well, Tim, he knows something about the law, but he's not in this area of the law, but still. But yeah.
But, I mean, it's a question, right? And I feel like they're really going out of their way to say this is wrong and we shouldn't be doing this. Linda was against it even though she gave in. But then they bring it up, Exigent Circumstances, and name the episode after it. So they want you to kind of think, well, maybe it's not that wrong. Otherwise, why would they have brought that up? Right?
I'm not sure the writers want you to think about this at all.
They named the episode after it.
I mean, I don't think they want you thinking too deeply about anything. Definitely not to the extent that we do. That's
definitely, they don't want you thinking about where the center of town is.
Right, yeah.
Or, who is involved in this community. They definitely don't want you questioning where all the main players of season 2 and 3 are at.
Right.
That are supposed to be here, but we've never seen during season 1. Right,
yes.
Anyway,
yes, Caroline is basically saying no, and he basically I don't care, I'm searching anyway. He has her dragged off by some men. Joe and Nori at this point are coming back, and they're like, oh, get off my mom, blah, blah, blah. And Jim is all like, oh, what are they so worked up about? He opens the barn door, nothing's there, and he's like, whoa, Joe, where is the egg? And like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And he basically has them arrested.
Yeah, he has them arrested for obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
And Carolyn vows to get them out. Why did they arrest her too?
That's a good question. Yeah. But actually, I'm not sure that they actually have proper grounds to arrest Joe and Nori.
Absolutely not.
And I'll get into this in a minute. It's another means of what, Linda, you kind of suck here. But anyway, Linda calls... Okay. Actually, sorry, I skipped a bunch of stuff. Angie runs out of the clinic with Junior behind her. Junior calls in that Barbie is at the clinic. They run at each other and fight. Barbie gets the better of him per usual. He ends up taking the walkie-talkie away from him, puts Angie in the ambulance, has her drive away, and leaves the walkie-talkie with her.
So Angie's driving the ambulance. Yep. Julia's in the back. And Barbie's like, I'm not going to go with you. It's going to give you a chance to escape because they're going to be worried about me.
Right. So Barbie's electing to stay behind. He ends up getting arrested by Linda. Barbie follows her instructions better than he did the first time, and Phil decides to extract revenge against him for killing Dodie, even though he doesn't know for a fact that he actually did. Certain. By kicking him in the face.
Yeah.
Linda calls Jim and explains that Angie has Julia. How does she know that?
Well, she saw her drive away, didn't she?
Did she?
I thought so.
Did she know for a fact that Julia was in that ambulance?
Well, no, she wouldn't know that.
Right.
But I mean, I think you could she assumed that since.
Okay. Maybe. I guess.
I mean, why? Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Junior knows it, but he hasn't had a chance to tell Linda this information.
Right. All he said is Barbie's here.
Right.
And then she saw Angie. She definitely clocked Angie driving away in an ambulance.
Right.
And why would you be driving away in an ambulance? I don't know.
Right. So Joe and Nori are in their cells arguing the merits of killing Big Jim. When Jim himself comes in and threatens Joe, Nori starts laughing at him, and Jim starts threatening her instead. She doesn't seem scared, but then Jim actually pisses her off, and Nori attempts to attack him, but that doesn't end up going very well.
So she tries cutting him with a knife.
Yeah.
Where'd she get a knife?
I don't know.
I was like, did I miss a scene?
Did they not search her?
She has a knife, like
right.
a switchblade or something, and she attacks him with it. Where did that come from?
Right. I guess these whoever arrested him did not search them.
Well, they're not cops,
right?
So
I guess.
They're not very good at this.
So Angie is in the ambulance parked somewhere. She overhears Linda talking about her, and she gets an idea and ends up driving off. Barbie is brought down to the cell next to the kids by Linda, and Barbie claims his innocence, but then she's basically like, well, he says he would never hurt Julian. She asks, well, what about Peter? And that's actually the crime that he is guilty of.
Yeah, and his silence kind of tells on him.
Yeah,
because he doesn't deny that.
Yeah.
So, of course, she assumes that means he is all of these terrible things.
Yeah, so I'm going to point out the fact that the kids are in the cell next to Barbie.
Yeah.
Linda doesn't so much ask a question about why they're there.
Right, why are the kids arrested? She doesn't seem to care.
Right, so she's just going along with everything that Big Jim is doing.
I was waiting for a scene, like a moment of her to look at Joe and be like, why are you here?
Right.
And that doesn't happen.
No.
She doesn't even acknowledge that they're there.
So Caroline is sitting at the station, not leaving until her kids are released. Jim seems pretty unmoved by that. Jim goes to talk to Linda. She knows, like I said, she knows the kids are there. She's completely cool with it. She doesn't even question it. When with Ben, the egg starts making some horrific sounds. And he tries covering it with 1,000 blankets, and it makes no difference. The kids are taken out of the cell. While Barbie sees this, Big Jim says that basically that they're going to be taken to an undisclosed location. Really, they're just being released, but he's not going to tell Barbie.
I don't think he decided yet at this moment.
Yeah,
because he's waiting to see what Barbie says.
Okay, but so Big Jim says that he will confess to the charges in public. He outlines all the ways in which he will screw everyone else, including Julia. Basically going down for hiring her Barbie to kill her husband. Yeah,
which that's a good plan for Jim.
But I would say
spin it that way.
So my question is Linda just going to go along with all this? And based on everything else, the way she acts in this episode and prior episodes, I'm going to say she probably just let that happen.
Well, I mean, she probably would want to tie all these cases up. It's a convenient scapegoat, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And she does really believe he killed Peter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a hard leap to believe all these things.
Okay.
I mean, most of them.
Yeah.
If she asked him straight up about Peter, he gave it away that he did kill Peter just by the way he looked at her. He didn't deny it.
Yes, and that is the only crime that he's actually
guilty of. But it leaves room for believing he's a killer, right?
Still, are you going to, charge Julia for basically hiring Barbie to kill her husband without any evidence whatsoever? I'm not sure that...
I mean, we were never going to get that far.
No, but, of course not. Yeah.
He also says he's going to charge Angie with an accessory to all these crimes because she's helping him.
Right. Which again, does that stand up? Like, just because she rode Julia away in an ambulance, does that mean that she's like an accomplice to all these murders?
Right.
That seems a little bit unfair.
And basically says Joe and Nori are never going to see the light of day again. Like, they are gone.
I'm pretty sure that most of these are empty threats. That
they definitely are.
That he couldn't possibly actually carry out. But he's just really trying to get Barbie to do what he wants him to do.
Right.
So the kids are released. Oh, yeah.
So he agrees. He's he says, if you leave all them alone, I'll say whatever you want me to say.
Right. The kids are released, but Jim tells Linda to put a tail on the kids under the justification that they are hiding something, basically the egg. He
says it could be our way out of here. Which, of course, I mean, if there is a chance that they know something, she's going to be curious, right?
Right.
Now, okay, that just made it click for me. You're right. He was going to let them go either way. Because he's not really letting them go.
Right.
He's letting them go so they can lead him to the egg.
Gotcha. Okay.
Although I'm surprised he's not telling them himself.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jim asks Junior what happened at the clinic. Junior starts to explain, but is interrupted by Jim. Yeah, whatever, you get your second chance now. And if you look at Junior's face, he's really pissed off that he's not, basically allowed to give his explanation. And basically So basically Jim says he has a second chance now. He tells him to go out there and find his girlfriend / Julia. And Junior asks, he's eyeballing his father as he walks away. You can see Junior in the background. He's out of focus, which is kind of a beautiful shot. And you can see his eyes trailing his father because he's starting to become suspicious of him.
Finally.
Right. It doesn't amount to anything, but it's still there. Junior asks, why is it so important that they find Julia? Barbie's locked up. There's no one out there left to hurt her. And Jim thinks that someone else out there might, be an accomplice to Barbie and cause harm to Julia, which of course is bullshit, but it's enough to be somewhat convincing.
I mean, I guess there should be some urgency to find a coma patient, other than the fact that there's not actually any medical personnel to help her.
Right.
So that's kind of goes both ways.
Junior doesn't seem to fully believe this. He says not to lie to him, that it would be very bad for both of them. And Jim tells Junior that Barbie has confessed to the crimes, which is, sort of true, I guess. Caroline brings the kids to Ben's house, who's sitting on the porch, and they're all watched by Linda.
Yeah, she's very not discreetly trailing them. She's in the police cruiser, and she's watching all of this, and nobody notices she's there.
Julia regains consciousness wherever Angie's hiding her. I believe it's in the cellar or something. The hospital, I think?
They're in a supply closet.
Okay.
And during the course of the conversation, we're going to learn that they are in the clinic. Angie realized that would be the last, because earlier we had seen, she's driving and she has no idea what to do with this unconscious woman. And she's hearing on the walkie, that they're looking for her and the last known location that the ambulance was spotted. So she brought her back to the clinic saying, this will be the last place they're going to look for us, is the place I took you from. So they're in the supply closet at the clinic.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah, Angie's not stupid.
No. So Angie tells her what's going on and the fact that, that basically Barbie's being accused of shooting her.
Yeah, and she asks her who shot you, and Julia said a woman she's never seen before.
Right.
Confirming it was not Barbie.
Right. And basically Angie says that the reason that her life is in danger is because of the very things that she is saying now. That basically that Barbie didn't do it. And, so Barbie is let out to face the crowd. Jim makes a speech about the rule of law. Barbie is asked how he pleads to the charges. Then we cut to Ben, who brings them to the mini-dome. Junior drops his radio as he goes to the dome and touches it.
Yeah, he's looking for some guidance, I think.
Angie asks Julia what they will do to Barbie, which is a dumb question. Julia says they'll kill him because, of course, that's what's going to happen. Barbie says that he pleads not guilty, and that is where the episode ends.
Yeah, so this is he's agreed to plead guilty.
Yeah.
In public. He gets him in public, and he pleads not guilty.
Right, probably because he realizes Jim is full of shit, and he's not actually going to do any of the stuff that he said.
He saw the kids get released, so they're, at least physically safe at the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, one thing I want to point out. They're standing on the steps of Town Hall, where the scene's happening. Very predominantly visible next to the doors of Town Hall is a fallout shelter label telling us that there's a shelter in the basement of Town Hall.
Interesting.
Which would be, where the town is supposed to go in an emergency or, when there's a bomb threat.
Yeah, okay.
So why is this not where we went?
Right.
When, there was a bomb coming. At least some people could, maybe the whole town can't fit there, but it should be large enough for a large amount of people because this is meant for the town. And this sign's very visible, right in this shot, that there's a shelter there. And we had a use for that a few episodes ago.
Yes,
and
we did.
We didn't acknowledge
blue on blue.
We didn't acknowledge that place exists. Instead, we all went to the cement factory where we were told, it's very dangerous to be down here.
There are 2 fallout shelters that we know of. There's the one that Junior had.
Right, which is small.
Yeah.
But they didn't even hide there.
Right, yeah. All right.
And there's this one here. Just to bring it back to the novel for a second. So in the novel, there is a shelter. But it's in Town Hall. It's not at Jim's house. So it would be this one. The one at Town Hall that was meant for the town officials and all that is a big location in the novels. And it actually is where Jim and Carter end up having a big final confrontation there at the end of the book. Do you remember all that?
Yes. Basically.
That was like one of the big things that happened at the end was this big fight between Jim and Carter. Carter being the deputy that disappeared a few episodes ago and we'll never see again.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, I thought it was funny that they're acknowledging that by having this sign here. Like, why did they put this is a set? Why is that visible in this shot if we were going to pretend it doesn't exist?
Right. Exactly.
It's so weird.
Yep.
And it doesn't exist again.
Right.
Because, there'll be similar situations later in the series where we need a place for people to be, and that doesn't ever come up, that there's a town shelter.
Right. Do we go back to the cement factory?
No, remember we're building stuff inside Town Hall.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But, there's already a shelter here.
Yes.
This should already be full of cots and supplies and places for people to be in an emergency.
Right.
I don't know. It's so weird. Let's look at our cast. We had 3 thugs credited in this episode, and I couldn't pick out who they were, because I'm assuming these are all the people that, arrested everybody and moved them back and forth, but I couldn't match them up. So we have thug number 1 was played by Kevin Cassidy. He has 40 stunt credits.
Oh.
As far as acting, he was in 1 episode of Sleepy Hollow. Thug number 2 was Benjamin Rowe. He has 26 stunt credits, including this episode and the next episode, as well as being this acting credit in this episode. So I was expecting these 2 to have, lines, but I didn't pick up on any to match them up, so I don't know.
Gotcha.
He also was in 1 episode of Sleepy Hollow. And then thug number 3... who is, again, in next episode. He'll be credited as volunteer in episode 13. That's Christopher Johnson. He was in 1 episode of Stranger Things and 1 episode of Secrets and Lies. And then we picked up a bunch of new background actors this week. We didn't have a lot the last couple weeks. We got some new names, so I'm going to read those. We have a thug/resident who's in this episode and the next, played by David Alexander Coley. He is in 1 episode of Banshee. We had a diner patron in Beth Gosnell. She was in 5 episodes of One Tree Hill and the Grindhouse movie. We have some families doing background work.
Oh, okay.
We have townsfolk. We have a family of 3. We have Joseph Milton Hodges Sr., Joseph Milton Hodges Jr., and Nancy Rouse Hodges.
Interesting.
So I'm assuming they're a family.
Yes.
And I don't know if Nancy is the wife or the daughter.
Hell of a coincidence otherwise.
Yeah. And all of them are townsfolks, and they're all in the next episode as well as some season 2 episodes. So there's a family that we're going to see repeating, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Junior was in 3 episodes of Good Behavior and 2 episodes of Six. Senior was in 2 episodes of Good Behavior, 1 episode of Secrets and Lies, and Nancy was in 2 episodes of Good Behavior, 2 episodes of Six, and 3 episodes of Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
We have another probable relationship, is 2 more townspeople who are in this episode and 13, and that's Damon McGowan, who is in 1 episode of RIS Police Scientific, I believe that was his only other listing, and Teresa McGowan. So they're related in some way. Her only other credit was as a crew member on a short. And I just thought it was interesting. She was listed as a rabbit wrangler.
Interesting.
That seemed like a odd credit, so I'd mention that.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know if they're a husband and wife or siblings or what they are, but they have the same last name. And 1 more is fire volunteer, who was played by Carlos St. James. He was in The Longest Ride and had a self-appearance on American Idol in 2009, so he must have been a contestant.
Gotcha.
He's going to appear again next episode and 2 more times in season 2. And then as far as people we've already talked about, we've got Will Smith, not that Will Smith, again, of course, William Fresca, Mary Jo Jackson, and Clam Sepulveda all appeared again in this episode.
All right. Do we have anything else to say?
That's it.
Okay.
So next week is the
finale.
Season finale.
And that means that we will be done covering Under the Dome Season 1. I doubt we're ever going to talk about it again.
Well, we can start over again.
I mean, yeah, we could if we want to, but I don't think I want to. I I think I've had my fill of Under the Dome season 1. So then we'll be moving on to season 2.
Well, let's revisit that idea once we get to season 3.
Yes.
And be like, would you rather be talking about season 1 right
now? Yeah, in all probability. Probably. All right. So anything else to say before concluding?
I think we covered all the things.
All right, so we got the finale next week, and then from there, I'm not totally sure what we're doing.
We'll get to season 2 soon, though.
Yes, we will.
We may take a week off or something.
Sooner than we did, sooner than
But we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going.
Yes. All right, so we'd like to hear from you. What you think of this podcast? What you think of this episode? Stacie, we reached out.
I'd like to reach out on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TVN Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, the number of ways to do so, you can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join the Core Productions Facebook page. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy. You can join the Core Productions membership starting at 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribe to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions signing off.